welcome to Game Day here at America Makes as we come to you live from Rapid plus TCT 2023 here in Chicago. My name is Josh Cramer. I'm the Director of Education and Workforce Development here at America Makes. I am super excited to have with me Mr. Nick Duncan, a retired Marine. First and foremost, Nick, thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
We are, obviously blessed to live in this country. My family and I take that very serious. We're honored that you would, give that sacrifice for us. So first and foremost, thank you, Nick. I appreciate you being here with me and getting a chance to talk about some exciting stuff. Obviously, you're here with Matter Hackers. Yep. Is a great prominent member of ours that we've done a lot of work with over the years. Nick, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Josh, thank you so much for having me on. First and foremost, to all the military members out there, it is May, so happy Military Appreciation Month to you all. And again, it's going to be a thank you to my beautiful bride and my two daughters, because they're the ones that truly are accepting of the sacrifice.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure to serve our nation for the last 22 years. Coming out as a career infantryman, came in 2001, exiting in 2023. And it just so happened that in my career, from the ground side, it's been great up to the point where it's like, what do I do once I get ready to exit the service and start looking at the exit strategy? And I know there's a lot of service members that are out there that still don't know exactly what they want to do when they decide to grow up. But it's okay. Matter Hackers is working on programs in concert with America Makes to work those pathways and those channels for transitioning service members. And so we'll get into those in a little bit. But again, a little bit more about myself. I would like to thank Matter Hackers for, one, allowing me the opportunity to grow a skill bridge program with them. For the past 4 months, since January, I have been a part of the Matter Hackers family, and I just am 3 days into a paid position with Matter Hackers.
That's tremendous. Yeah, I mean, it's such a cool story, and have, a blessed privilege to work with the whole team over there. So I know the whole organization is just fantastic. Have been, like I said, a very great partner, member of America Makes over the years as well. We'll get into some of the nuts and bolts, obviously. Yep. One of the things that I do want to ask, though, I mean, how and why additive? I mean, I have to ask. I mean, we work on so many programs that are the awareness and the inspiration and all those kind of things. We rarely have the opportunity to ask. Where was the spark?
So I actually had never touched a 3D printer up until my coming into the Matter Hacker office. How that all came about is another story in itself, but it's a rather short one. So my girls go to a Montessori school called Bella Montessori. It just so happens that a lot of the Matter Hacker families go to the same Montessori school. So as I'm starting to look at my exit strategy, I'm starting to build my network out, and I'm having conversations with individuals. Just one day at Bella Montessori in Orange County, California, came up to Kevin Pope, who's the COO, and Mike Holst, who's our CFO, and was just like, hey, tell me about Matter Hackers. And so it led off on, hey, Matter Hackers has 3D printing, additive manufacturing, laser cutting, CNC milling, CNC engraving. And it was like, that's fantastic. Guess what? I run my own CNC machine out of my garage. I have my own laser machine in my garage. And I do a lot of these side projects because when COVID hit, all the plaque shops, all the trophy shops shut down. And so as I had Marines rotating out of my unit and then other little small trinkets and gifts for family and friends, I decided I can do this myself. I can figure it out. And so I made my own little maker space in my garage, which led to the conversation with Matter Hackers at Bella Montessori, which led to my first interview. And I didn't even know it was really an interview. It was like more of an exploratory conversation. Yeah. And that exploratory conversation turned into, we just were awarded some significant contracts with Naval Air Systems Command. We would like to have some more conversations with you to see how we can increase our capacity, our capability. Yeah. And so I would say that Matter Hackers usually has me in a universal translator role, and I would leverage all of you service members out there. If you're not looking at skill bridge programs right now, these are the details we're going to get into here in a few minutes, and I'm happy to be pursuing this for not only you all, but also our industry partners to make sure that we have the right candidates going in.
Yeah, and so maker by heart, by passion, obviously, I think is a key part of that. And I think one of the things that you'll see, and we'll be actually highlighting Nick in a new platform that we're calling AM Jobs as an opportunity to kind of meet people in the industry, right?
Yeah.
Have an opportunity to learn about their journey. You know, most of the additive industry takes a weird turn of how we all land here. Myself is no different, you know, and so I think when we look at, you know, who are the people of additive, what do they do every day, where do they work, what do they work on, what are their skill sets, what are their hobbies, what do they like, you know, that story to captivate someone to look at that and say, wow, that looks like me. You know, that's my story. And if Nick did it, I can do it. And I think that's a critical piece for folks to see. And I think you're resonating with a number of service members in that realm as we look in here. And so one of the things I know we've talked a lot about this. I mean, we're building a platform that's called AM Train, that's going to take job roles and define them and looking at competencies of those job roles and align those and map those to trainings. And so this is a program that's supported out of the Office of Secretary of Defense specifically. And I think as we look at SkillBridge, which will be tied into AM Jobs, will be tied into this new platform as well, you know, there's a critical component of capturing, you know, what industry might call workplace competencies or soft skills. And we know that our service members have some of the highest accolades in those realms, right? Their innate features, you know, woven into the fabric, you know, self-starter obviously, and just what you explained that you have kind of in the garage, so to speak, right? Yeah. And I think some of that, and when we start capturing that with real competencies that are looking for in these job roles within industry, now we're getting to somehow the magic makes in filling these job roles with an extremely competent workforce as well. And so obviously you want to talk a little bit about, you know, what you yourself and Matter Hackers is working on in the SkillBridge program. Obviously we talked about some ways we'll support. I'm sure we'll talk through some of those as well. But do you want to give us a little lay of the land on the program itself?
Yeah, we'll take it kind of from like the 35,000 foot perspective, and we'll bring it all the way down to the grassroots where I'm at Matter Hackers. And so we think about the number of transitioning service members year over year. And for our industry partners, if you're out there and you don't know, take a look at the numbers, because it's between 200,000 and 250,000 service members are transitioning out of the service every year. That's going in, that's coming out. Now, when you think about those numbers, look at by week. By week, that's approximately 3,400 service members every week. Does every single one of those 3,400 service members know where they're going to go post-service? How can we provide opportunities and pathways for them? Because my exposure to additive prior to me coming to Matter Hackers was zero. If I can go from zero to, you know, establishing programs and forwarding on pathways and working on alignment with some of the DoD initiatives with what we have as product offerings or service offerings or training offerings. It's like there are other service members well more qualified than I am to take on these roles and responsibilities. It's just some of them just don't know where the starting or step-off point is. And so that's what we really hope to grow and portray. And it's like, yeah, it's going to be going down to, you know, where I spent a bulk of my career, down at Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton. That's right. And taking that time on Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton and just going to job fairs that are hosted weekly, being like, hey, service member, have you looked at these growing industries and how can you change your pathway? But it's also one of the facets where they're all coming in from across all 50 of the states. Are they going to go back home? Do they want to go back home? Where can we find an industry partner that has relative opportunities that we can impart the skill set on, where they can go be a critical workforce solution? And so it's fantastic. And I'll turn it back over to you, but I'd love to get down the rabbit hole of what SkillBridge is, some of the nuances that go into it, some of the time constraints, and then how the Matter Hackers vision is proceeding forward.
Yeah, and I think those are all critical components, right? When we look at some of the challenges that exist and how we tackle some of these challenges, you know, a lot of times, you know, we refer to this as underutilized talent pools. They're the non-traditional paths, and it sounds kind of almost awkward to talk about our separating service members as non-traditional paths. But in many instances, we talked about this yesterday in some of our game day, we talked about this morning in some of our game day, you know, if they haven't had the opportunity to have that conversation about this is a field that is in demand. Mm-hmm. We need a workforce. We need talent in this space. They don't know that that's an opportunity. Yep. Often, a lot of times, I always talk about the tree that falls in the forest that no one there is to hear it. right? And I very much believe that happens in workforce every day. And so that's one of the reasons we're creating some of these platforms on the awareness and the inspiration side of these. I think telling your story is a lot of that, right? We have a number of active programs across the DoD and those kind of things, and they capture a certain number of individuals, but we know that that's not enough. And so I look at that, just as you threw out these numbers, that's a renewable resource. You know, we have separating service members year after year after year. Having the opportunity to capture them, I know you talked a little bit about, you know, additive being one pathway of many in advanced manufacturing once we zoom out a little bit as well. But I mean, you know, to a lot of folks, and we're hoping with AM Jobs we're going to be able to shine some light on SkillBridge in it as a program. But can you give us a breakdown? Because, you know, I have a feeling that some folks maybe heard it, some folks haven't, but most folks probably don't know nuts and bolts.
Yeah, so the SkillBridge program was originally brought in by the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense in order to establish kind of an apprenticeship or an internship program for transitioning service members to gain relative work experience with a private entity that's not or can be DoD related. But it's really there to allow those individuals a step in the right direction prior to exiting the service. Because, I mean, my transition story is my transition story. Just think about the other 250,000 members that are exiting year over year and how every single one of those is unique, has had its own trials, its own tribulations, its own hurdles that they had to overcome. Good, bad, indifferent. It's every story is different. But as long as we can help them charter a path. And so when we think about SkillBridge is a fantastic program where the last 180 days of a service member's career, they can take that time to partner with a private industry or a private company that has an approved program that's going to give them and impart tangible skills as relates to what their professional development is going to look like post-service. And so there's a training plan that has to go into it, there's timing that has to go into it. There's no real hard gates. It's up to the company's design, but the company needs to put forth the effort through the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense. And if you just jump onto the Google machine and search SkillBridge, it's going to be osd.skillbridge.mil. And those websites are applicable. All the information's there, all the requirements are, the paperwork. But when we talk about the timing though, it's realistically 180 days is the window. Can you go over 180 days? Yes, if there is a critical role that you have to have approved by the Undersecretary of Defense. Aside from that, realistic window that I'm looking at is between a 60 to 90 to 120 day window, because that 180 days is their entire out processing from the service. That's their final medical, that's their final dental, that's their gear and equipment turn-in, their base housing turnover if they're living on base. It's their final PCS move to their destination that they're going to be either skill bridging or residing to. All of that has to be accomplished in that last 180 days. So realistically, from a Matter Hacker's perspective, I'm looking at, I have 60 days to impart training on an individual to make them workforce ready. But I also want to have a little bit of time to make sure that we recoup a little bit on return on investment for the company. So now I'm up to about 120 days, which is about the sweet spot. And so we're looking at establishing those pathways and then really reaching out to our industry partners. I'm going to put it out to the industry partners. It's like, if you have a workforce requirement and that we at Matter Hackers, or we can help you build your own program to support transitioning service members, please reach out to us. Please reach out to me directly. That way I can help build either your program or be the facet that facilitates a consistent, prominent, capable leader that's going to help your organization.
Yeah, I mean, all fantastic, right? And I think that's one of the key, collaborations, partnerships, obviously, us supporting that work. One is to leverage some of these national best practices that have been built through the Institute, by members, for members kind of thing, but as well as those 250 members that are out there, right? They're all companies. They're all looking at workforce and talent and need there as well. And I think, us amplifying that message, supporting the programs are key as we look at this. And we all know that, again, some of the most qualified around here with those training programs will be tremendous assets to these companies in the long run, certainly. So Nick, I certainly appreciate you. I appreciate all the work that you're doing. We're looking forward here at America Makes for being a part of that, supporting that work, bringing some of that validation to those programs as well. So I can't wait for what's next on the next journey.
Yeah.
Hopefully the next year at Rapid, we're going to have a couple folks joining us that have been part of the program, sitting here at the table with us as well. So thanks so much. Appreciate you joining us, and have a great rest of your day here.
Happy Military Appreciation Month.